consult your sources. Consult your sources. So, when it comes to being authentic, consult your sources. You're like, Sharon, what do you mean consult your sources? Or it can be your resources, which is outside of you, or it can be your internal resources. So, consult your sources. So, when it comes to being authentic, think of all the different things that not only can distract you, like from your day, from your vision, for doing what you really want to do, for even being, because that's what being authentic is all about. But it's not just that. And the thing is, again, when it comes to self-care, it's every aspect of yourself, mentally, physically, spiritually, and even financially, and of course, emotional, all of that. So you're saying that you are breaking generational curses, generational trauma, and you're building a generational legacy and wealth. And you are, but there's a piece that may be missing. You may be exercising, you may be, and that's good. You may be eating healthy, and that is part of it. But also remember to invest, to fuel yourself, and to get the sources that's inside of you. It is there. But by you being busy, how does the thing go when it comes to business? Don't be of your business, be in your work, in your business, and all of that. Okay, be of your business, of yourself, because, and y'all, when I say this, no one says that it's easy. And even without a business, because even you have a 9 to 5, it's the same thing. Of course, there's more. I want to say it's more of it. Or maybe, no, I'm going to say this. It shows up different when you have a 9 to 5. It really does. There's some very similar things that comes up. But in a 9 to 5, there are restrictions. But then at the same time, there's some things you don't even have to think about, worry about, be concerned about. But as an entrepreneur, you are, like everything. So it's like, how do you show up? Because what I've come to have a better understanding is that it's not just the experience. It's even like being in the room, let's say with people, places, and things that's not in alignment, that is going to pretty much make you detour. You may think that you are going towards that, but you're not, because you don't have the energy. Sometimes you don't have the motivation or the inspiration, and motivation is going to get you but so much. You got to move, okay? You're going to have to move. Yes. And so what do you do to get to the sources that's inside of you, so that you can sustain in being authentic? Because again, being authentic is being true to you, being true to yourself, for you to show up. But the thing is, there's so many things in life that is grabbing your attention, so many things in life that can distract you, so many things in life that can really set you back. So in one sense, you're almost like fighting just to be alive. You may want to use other words. I'm like, I always use the words that's going to resonate with you, move with you. But there's some videos out there, and I'm going to find them and like do some remixes of it, because it's really so true. Because like in one sense, it's almost like, this adulting stuff is just way too much. But it's kind of like you get to choose, but some of it is that's what it takes. It's like even just to be alive, to be your true self, your authentic self. So you won't be saying yes to things that you don't really want to. And it's okay if you're too tired to do something. I'm like, if it's for your business, sometimes you may need to go ahead and push through it. But then sometimes you just need to step back, and the thing is, if someone asks you to do a favor, if you don't feel like doing it, it's okay to not feel like doing it. Yeah, sometimes you may do it, but sometimes you just may not feel like it. So the thing is that how do you show up? What are the things that you are doing? And how do you get to the resources? How do you consult the sources that's inside of you that's just waiting to come out? Now, for some individuals, you're like, Sharon, what are you talking about? I don't have any sources inside me. Yes, you do. It's just that you have not sit down long enough so that you can attach, so that you can connect with the sources that's within you. And in order to do that, you got to sit down. Now, you all have heard me talk about the time in which, like after the breakup, or how I was crying for 40 days and 40 nights. But then also when my parents had their medical issues, especially when my stepdad had a heart attack, and I was living out of town, and I was back and forth every other weekend. It was every other weekend because on one weekend I was working a part-time job. So I had a full-time job, which I was working at that particular time nights. I was working 12-hour shifts. So if you know anything about 12-hour shifts, how much, put it like this, they are good. However, there are some drawbacks when it comes to that. And this is despite in having other family support, because if anyone who's ever had that experience, you would know that everyone is impacted. And for the most part, it's okay just to look at how it's impacting you. And again, I just want to make sure I say that, because I know one time I was telling my story and somebody was saying, oh, well, some family, they just don't help out. And I'm like, wait a minute, I must be telling this story wrong, because we got family support, but it's just that even with family support, because even like with the other family, they were going through their things when my stepfather and my mom had their medical condition. So the thing is, and this was like pretty much, I want to say like at the beginning of my self-care movement, at the beginning when I was becoming of myself, I had a little bit inside of me and I was starting the practice. But the thing that I would change, and I say it again, is that I would do more. Because I was already doing some yoga, I went through yoga teacher training. I had a practice, but it wasn't enough, because the impact of stress that's coming in as a caregiver, it is surmountable. But the thing is, you got to take care of yourself. And like I say, even though I was doing some things, but I wasn't doing enough. And I cannot. You are going to hear me say this over and over and over again, because you need to hear it. But the thing is, you need to hear it so that it can become a part of you, because it would become your own source. So that's another way that you can install the sources that you need. But in order for you to get the source that you really need, is to sit down. It's to sit down long enough. And the thing is, I want to point out, it is a difference of sleeping, because I used to be the person, I used to identify as being the naps of the queen naps, because, hey, I'm going to get my rest. But there's a different type of rest. There's a different type of rest when you are intentional about getting to your internal sources. There's a difference, because when you're asleep, I would say sometimes, and especially if it's not intentional, You don't always get all the things that you need to really rejuvenate and to restore and to renew the things and to get in touch with that source. But let me tell you, y'all, all of this busyness, and especially as being an entrepreneur, okay, that busyness, some of it is necessary, but you got to know, because again, I tell you again, if you're not doing any type of personal development, figuring out who you are, but the thing is to sustain. I'm more about sustaining and maintaining, because that piece gets left out. Because I put it like this: the mind in and of itself, it has a way to kind of trick you to become comfortable. It's like, oh, well, I'm exercising here. I am meditating. But you got to be intentional. It's like saying why you are meditating. What are you doing it for? Like, have it to be for a particular goal. Let's say, for instance, during that time when I was back and forth, working one weekend, back and forth in and out of town, I needed my intention, even though I might have felt that. But again, I was kind of new in all of this, so I didn't have the words at the time to say, either I am blessed with energy, I'm blessed with vitality, or I am vitality, or I am energy, so the words that you use is very, very important too. And so when you are giving yourself the sources that you need, again, to tap in that, you got to sit down. When things seem like they're not going your way, especially if you feel like you don't have the energy, your mood changes, all of that stuff, the main thing that I am saying, to develop you. It is so important for you to sit down with yourself to develop you. Now, the other part of that, sometimes we can benefit from leaning on other people. And when I say lean on other people, I'm not talking about lean, of course. And I'm not talking about relying. Maybe I should change the word to say borrow. To borrow sometimes somebody else's motivation, somebody else's movement. Just like you're watching me and you're like, oh, who is this Sharon? Oh, I like her style. Yes, you are borrowing that, but the whole purpose of you doing that so that you can take what you need, so you can take what resonates from you, for you, and for it to be installed. Now, sometimes it's going to automatically install. It's almost like whatever it is that you need, it's going to come to you. That is true. But to really make sure it gets embedded, that it gets attached, that it gets connected to you, especially to your soul, so that when you need the source, you can go back to it. Is that for you to be intentional about it, so that you can consult the sources that's inside of you. Because how much do you consult with yourself? But then you're like, Sharon, I don't have nothing to consult about. But this is why self-development is so important. And I'm here to tell you, if you're an entrepreneur and if you are not developing yourself, just go ahead, close the door, put up the sign, either put up the sign to pause, or just say, I'm just going to close shop. Because if you're not doing that at all, then you're going to have a much harder time. But entrepreneurship is all about self-development in of itself. Self-development in everything. Because it's going to bring up the things that you're not good at. It's going to bring up insecurities. It's going to bring up inadequacy. It's going to bring up even some trauma stuff that I'm not going to say that has not been dealt with, because there's different levels when it comes to healing. And so as things get peeled away, those things will come up as well. So this is another reason for you to be able to be focused on that. But the other thing is, one of the reasons that I talk about self-care, and if you're allergic to that, bye. If you're allergic to that, then are you really all about breaking these generational curses, breaking these generational trauma, and to close the economic gap, and to build generational wealth, and to build a generational legacy? Because in order for you to truly be of who you are, it's almost like it's a continuation to sustain and maintain your sanity, to sustain and maintain the trueness of who you are, to sustain and maintain of you being authentic. Y'all, it takes some work. And that's just how it is. It's just part of the game. I forget the name of the author, The Game of Life. I can't remember the author at the moment, but I will look it up and put it in the comments. And everybody know it, I definitely put it in the comments as well. I can't remember her name. But when you approach life in that way, then maybe it won't be so hard. You know, like in doing 100 or 1,000 sit-ups or anything, somebody say, oh, that's too much. But you know what? Think about what happens out there in life. That ain't nothing compared to what life ends up, putting in front of us. So in order for you to be able to consult your sources, there's a lot of things that needs to be done for you to nurture the sources that comes to you. Because it's not just about having a thought. It's like, I feel good today. And of course you want to feel good all the time. But sometimes things get messy. But to sustain that feeling good, and I'm not sure it's going to be like sustained like 100%, because, it can, just like you need to sharpen, a pencil, or even if you use the mechanical, you need to push the button in order for the lead to come up. It's the same thing. Ooh. See, that's what it's about. It's about sharpening yourself. Sharpening your mind, sharpening your spirit, your soul, sharpening every aspect of yourself, because self-care is more of the journey. It's like, what are the things that you need to do to have joy? What are the things you need to do to maintain your sanity? What are the things you need to do to negotiate a deal? What are the things you need to do to show up? Because again, when it comes to the world, there's so many different things that be coming towards you. Some things, as they say, is for you to, grow through, should I say. And it's just, how some things are. But the thing is, we need to prepare ourselves much better, because I tell you, even just by me being a therapist, I've just in recent years and maybe recent months come to the realization, like when it comes to challenges are needed to build up your muscle of how to handle things, because there was no need for me to be crying for no 40 days and 40 nights, even though I knew in the midst of it that it wasn't about the relationship. It was something deeper than that. And so what about you? How much do you sit down with yourself? How much do you go deep within yourself, so that not only that you can show up with what has been given to you, whatever your movement is, whatever your mission is, whatever your ministry is, but there's a lot of work that has to be done, a lot of effort in order for you to be healthy. I mean, you may end up getting an injury. That interferes with you being you when you are in pain. And even though you may be able to show up with a smile, but you just don't want to show up with a smile. You want to be. You want to be authentic. You want to, like, with that smile, you want to feel it. You want to wear it. And it's almost like despite of a pain that you may be experiencing, that you really do show up with spirit, with energy. But in the meantime, go ahead and feed your soul. And, sometimes in feeding your soul, it doesn't always mean it's going to be pleasant. I hate to tell you that. I hate to tell you that. I had to learn that too. Like, what? It's not pleasant. You mean to tell me there's work? There's discomfort? Oh, my. But, hey, the game of life, making it to a game. Put it like this, there are other stories that I can tell. Something else had popped up. But in order for you to be able to nurture that, a lot of it you do on your own, but some of it you do in community. Some of it, again, remember I talked about being about self-development. So self-development is twofold, meaning a lot of it is independent. But some of it, just like you're watching this, you're watching other individuals, you're going to retreat, you're going to a workshop. Again, you got the business thing, to go to the master class. But what about the master class of yourself? What about the workshop of you? What about how do you, again, nurture yourself? And not just nurture, because sometimes with that word nurture, it makes us like, oh, it feels so good. At least that's where my mind goes. I still have to retrain it. But also nurturing is in fueling yourself or what you need. So sometimes it may cause a little friction, and we need that. Our nervous system need that so that you can have much better control over your nervous system, where the world will not have control over it when things happen. Again, it doesn't mean that you'll be able to completely avoid, adversity and challenges and difficulties, but you can set yourself up to be better and to be able to go through it. I'm just going to say better. It doesn't mean it's not going to be hard. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy per se. But one thing I will say, you will be able to pull through or tap into your sources. And I want to call them sources because they're powerful. They're not just resources. They are sources within you that you can pull at the dime of a hat. You can pull with intention. You can pull. So one way that you can do that is with an upcoming workshop, the Authentic Workshop, which is on Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you will be able to learn more about being authentic, to be able to go 7 layers deep. Because a lot of times we do not sit long enough with ourselves. And sometimes we don't sit at all. And I'm here to tell you, if you do not have certain practices, some of it, you need it independently and also in doing it in community. There's just something about that. There's just something about being in community, whether it's in a workshop or a continuous community that you can be in. Find those places because you need it. We learn from different people. If anything about relationships, all relationships is really about you relating to yourself. So even in those interactions with others that may not have been pleasant, there is something that you can take from it. There is something that maybe even been a part of you that you needed to develop, that you needed to expand. You might have needed to become a little tougher, maybe not be a people pleaser, maybe to stand up, maybe learn how to articulate when you are offering your services and your products. And so all experiences aren't bad. And when it comes to, trauma, I would just say there are different philosophies in which you do have the power. You do have what you need to be able to work through that for yourself and where you may be able to help others as well. And so you get to decide to work through that. So for everyone who wants to, again, we're talking about sustaining because it's not about, I already had that workshop in the past or something. No, y'all, it is about really, I cannot tell you. I'm going to say this last part before I get off. In that, if anything I learned, I want to say probably in the past 6 months to a year, and it definitely has resonated with me in the past 3 months, is how much like we have to brainwash ourselves. So like when it comes to practice, when they say repetition, when they say consistency, not just in our business, but when it comes to us, consistency in sitting down, consistency in, renewing the mind. There's no stopping. So the thing that people are saying, oh, this adulting stuff is low. Yes. But when it comes to us, this is what it takes. It may take you to read something 100 times. It may take you to write something out 100 times. It may take you in doing something 100 times. But you know what? It doesn't stop there, And so in saying that, continue to be great. And I will see you on Sunday, and just put in the comments authentic so that you can get some information about this workshop, because as much as you are dedicated and committed to doing the work that needs to be done for your business, for your movement, for your ministry, for your mission, is to be committed and dedicated to yourself. Because in order for you to truly show up, you need everything. So go ahead and get the arsenals that so that you can be great. So thank you for those who had joined me live on Instagram, as well as those who have joined me live on Facebook. So I will see you all on Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.